Welcome to News with a View, a Fat Cat production, hosted by me, John A. Costa. Today is September 29th, 2025. This is episode 135. Sorry I didn't do anything over the weekend. I just was not up to it. A lot of news going on, I realize that, but I just could not muster everything that I needed to do to get a good show up. So I decided not to do it. Today's show content, Comey fallout. And this is now dragging in other people, Christopher Wray, and there'll be other ones. Christopher Wray, of course, being the ex-FBI director appointed by Trump in his first term. I'm going to talk about now the 14th Amendment. It's going to be settled here, folks. And it is my belief you're not going to be happy with the way it's settled. And ICE makes an arrest in Iowa that has Democrats rallying around a criminal. So, not that that's any type of news, but that is where the Democrats think they should be. All right. I am doing a live feed that's going out because I'm not understanding with YouTube why my live feeds are not going out immediately, but they are being held up 24 hours for processing time. I don't know why. I don't monetize. I don't make it available to anyone under 18. So I don't know what's going on there. Well, okay. And this is days after the Justice Department indicted James Comey. President Trump has suggested that another former FBI director, Christopher Wray, would come under investigation too. And on Saturday, he rallied against Wray, who Trump nominated in 2017 to replace Comey, claiming in a Truth Social post that he had a covered-up involvement of FBI agents. They're saying 274. I haven't seen any of this stuff. Acting as agitators and insurrectionists in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Trump has repeated the unfounded claim that the FBI incited the Capitol riot, which occurred after Trump rallied thousands of his supporters over the alleged false claims that the 2020 election, which Joe Biden won, had been won illegally, stolen. Now we are seeing some news that I'll be reporting tomorrow on what's going on in Georgia, where they've just gotten permission to look at the ballots versus the envelopes. It's going to be very telling, folks. President Trump went on to say, I want to know who each and every one of those so-called agents are. Well, they're not so-called. If they were FBI agents, they're FBI agents. So I disagree with him, with President on that language. And he said many great American patriots were made to pay a very big price for their love of their country. I owe this investigation of dirty cops and crooked politicians to them. Now, that's not, he's righting a wrong, according to him. So you'll have one side saying, no, he's trying to unravel a legal process. And Trump is saying that illegal process, that legal process was founded illegally. So, And this comes on his administration launching several investigations into his perceived political adversaries. They're not perceived. Those were people that were trying to arrest Trump and put him in jail. And even talking about executing him for treason. So, I would say that where people are calling this a vendetta, no, it's not a vendetta. It's not a vendetta. I wouldn't even call it fair play. He's using the law. Let these people fight it. Let Comey fight it. He's been indicted. And whether or not that goes further, might not. Who knows? I don't have or seen the proof other than if they're talking about when he lied to Congress. I would take that back. When he lied to the Senate. And it's my belief that Andrew McCabe will substantiate Comey's involvement with the leak and subsequent then lying to the Senate. So, okay. Earlier, Trump directed Attorney General to be more aggressively investigate his foes. No, he asked to investigate the people that made false claims against him. Now, the Department of Justice has always been a tool of the president since forever. He's just pulled the veil away and said, yeah, I'm going to go after you. Obama's going to be looked at. There's going to be a bunch of people. Brennan Clapper, former Homeland Security Director Mayorkas, and he's saying Wray did a terrible job, and we just found out about it. Looking through, it's going to take time to go through and find all the things. Now, just because Wray did a terrible job, and they just found out about it, well, if you didn't find out about it then, you weren't doing your job, right? Who was watching the people that you needed to be watched? Just saying. But I think Wray was trying to protect the integrity of the FBI by not throwing it all out there. But he also did a disservice to those people that were arrested and then put on trial when there was no insurrection. And they're absolute trespass. And I might say if they were, if people in the crowd who were the FBI, and we don't know this for certain, we don't know this, agitated them, it was still a crime. Still a crime of trespass. Are you saying you are unable to control yourself to say it was, in the moment? Regardless if they were agitated. Now, should they have been agitated? Should the FBI allegedly have been out there stirring up the pot? No, they should not have. That's not their job. But that also doesn't release the people who trespassed into the Capitol and destroyed the Capitol. I don't call it an insurrection. They were saying, hang this guy, hang that guy. It never happened. So it wasn't an insurrection. There was not the intention of that mob to go in there and change and take over the United States. So, was it a trespass? Sure was. Should they have been arrested? Yeah. Was it on federal property, so could the federal charge them? Yes, they could. Yes, they could. But I think the way it was handled, and you want to talk about, people saying that NBC Universal called it, well, let me just, Comey, the arrest for Comey, this will show that he was a direct player in the Russian investigation and was behind the Steele files being used against Trump during Trump's first term. And the same thing with Brennan, who, when these people said, hey, we know, we have information that this was a paid report, wouldn't put too much faith into it. It's interesting reading, but, so is, a lot of fantasy books and sci-fi books and other things. But there's nothing in here to corroborate a link. And, of course, Comey going after Flynn in the White House asking, did you ever talk to Russians before? No. Well, And then, I talked to this guy at a dinner. Oh, well, you lied to us. And this is where, Comey went after Trump people. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was really underhanded and a direct hit. They wanted to send a message right to Trump at that time that, hey, you're the president, but we're over here. And we have paperwork and we have files that you don't have. And then they went after Trump. The Department of Justice and FBI tried to decapitate Trump. And there was a lot of shenanigans going on. And it is coming out. NBC Universal, Comey indictment opens floodgates to tit-for-tat partisan political revenge. Well, NBC Universal, what did they do in New York to Trump? Because he said, my building is worth $25 million, and she goes, no, it was worth $20 million. Or where they tried to say Mar-a-Lago was only worth $12 million. When just barren property there was going for twice the amount. We know what you did. We all see it. And we do know that their politics, it's not a great game to be playing. Make dirty bedfellows or something like, But the indictment of Comey now opens the door for the government to access files and records from Comey, which may net other players. Brennan's from the CIA is also being looked at by the Department of Justice, as will Clapper from the NSA, for all pushing the Steele report as being credible when they knew it was paid for by Hillary Clinton. And they knew that the source of this coming from the individual was not the most reliable source. Now the DOJ has thousands of pages of documents, records, and Comey's direct field reports. The DOJ has always been a tool of the president, all of them from day one of its founding, as is the FBI. J. Edgar Hoover, everyone feared him because he was the keeper of the secrets. And, you know, the amount of information that they have on people that aren't even in politics, but may rise to that. Their data collection. You know, you're doing something as an adult with another adult. And it's consensual. You're doing it with your partner, you're doing it with your wife, you're doing it with your lover, you're doing it with your man friend, you're doing it with your girlfriend. And there's someone who takes notes on that, or finds out, or sees a personal ad, or whatever, captures your internet. And that's just stacked away somewhere until your name pops up. And then it goes through. Oh, he just became interesting. Where some of this stuff just falls off the end of the world and never gets seen again in the light of day. But it's there. And the FBI does do that. So, Comey is in big trouble. McCabe is going to take him down. And Cohen on one of these talk shows said that, you know, and stunned everyone when he said, hey, I think the guy's guilty. And they were like, well, there's no, and he goes, we haven't seen anything. And Cohen said that, he goes, but I know how the game is played because I was part of the game. And if they say they got you, they got you. The old, you bring me the man, I'll bring you the crime. They got him. And Cohen said, I believe that he committed a criminal offense. And they know it. And they got him. And whether or not he pleads to it or says, no, you gotta take this all the way up to courts. And there'll be other people go, hey, you know, I'm part of that too. And they're going to go to Comey and they go, hey, you know, we all said we'd agree to fall on the swords here. And he goes, well, I don't agree to that anymore. So if you don't help me in this case, I'll name names. I won't be the only one going down. So he will get a lot of monetary money coming in to help him defray the cost of a legal defense. I think with that, the game is on unless Comey just decides, hey, I plead guilty to the crime. And they go, well, we want to know about this. I plead guilty to the crime. If you want to know more information, you go, fish some other pond. You caught this fish. I'm pleading guilty to it. I have no criminal record. I have boom, 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 boom. What's going to happen to him? 6 months? A year? So I don't see this. I see this being more stretch it out there. You don't want him to go October 9th or wherever. Yeah, I think October 9th is when he goes and faces, the indictment. And I don't think he's going to go there and go, yeah, I plead guilty. Give me a sentencing date. Which would take the wind out of the sails of the Department of Justice, because I don't have to talk to you guys about this now. I'm pleading guilty to this. If you got more charges, bring them on. And then, now if you think you're going to dogpile me, look how that's going to look. So, wouldn't that be something? And he just disarmed the Republicans. Other than, the Republicans saying, see, we told you. Okay, you told us. And it's done. It's no longer an issue. So, that's how I see it going. I think there's more to come. And if I was Brennan, I would be, Brennan, that guy's dirty. Clapper, I'm not so sure of. But you never know. And I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes. It takes a while for you to collect all the data, speak to people, and find, and you might think this is what the picture looks like, but now you have to put the puzzle together and see what it looks like. The problem is with the jigsaw puzzle, you got some people try to jam something in there to make it fit. We'll see what happens. But anyone who watched the Senate hearings with Comey, when Ted Cruz questioned him, and Ted Cruz, one of the best constitutional lawyers out there, great lawyer, said, hey, McCabe said this, and you're saying that. One of you are lying. McCabe already fessed up to his part. So they have Comey. Whereas McCabe will get, turn state's evidence, whatever, cut a deal. And Comey's out there now, and we'll have to deal with it, as he should. as he should. I just have to look at this real quick. He does that all the time. Mr. President, you know when I'm on that I don't take messages. I'll get back to you. But it's going to be a good week for you, sir. A good week. All right. That's going to ping again in a second. Just so you know, I'm not paying attention to it. The Trump administration has asked the Supreme Court through the Department of Justice to give a ruling on the 14th Amendment birthrights. And I mean, this is a, people say, no, it's going to be soundly defeated by the Supreme Court. And then you have others who are saying, no, it won't be soundly defeated. But it will be defeated, or whatever. I think you have a Supreme Court, if you look at how they've been handling the cases, they've been looking at the intent, which is very, very important when you look at a law. What was the intent of that law? And is the intent being followed, or is it not being followed? Has the intent been answered by another court? And is that court correct? So, if you were to Google what was the intent of the 14th Amendment, you will get a different answer than the answer of what is the 14th Amendment. So the intent, which I'm always big with, the intent of the 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868, was to grant citizenship and equal legal rights to former enslaved people, prevent states from abridging these rights, and provide a constitutional basis for protecting civil rights against both federal and state infringement. Key provision included defining citizenship for all born in the U.S., guaranteeing due process of the law, equal protection, prohibiting states from interfering with these rights. It was also to correct the Dred Scott ruling by an earlier Supreme Court. And the key provision was for those born, those persons born in the United States. But that key provision was for those born of legally entered persons in the United States or given legal status through the 13th Amendment. So, in the 14th Amendment, you'll see the word sovereignty and jurisdiction. You must now go and look at the intent of the terms sovereignty and jurisdiction, not just the meaning inside the definition of such, but what it meant in the intent. Now, normally when you came over to the United States, you would be asked, why are you coming here? And 99.9% of the people said, I'm coming here to immigrate. What country were you from? Boom, 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 boom. And in there, you gave up, if you became a citizen, because remember, just coming here didn't make you a citizen. At one time it did, but then later on the laws changed and you had to apply for citizenship. But it was your intent that when you applied for citizenship, you would give your sovereignty of whatever country you were from, you would relinquish that. And thus, when you were granted citizenship, you were protected under the jurisdiction whether you lived in a territory or a state. The 13th Amendment was to abolish slavery and involuntary servitude throughout the United States and its territories. It was jurisdictional aspect of the 14th Amendment, just honing that down. And in it, and that didn't take in, and it was interesting because the 13th Amendment was involuntary servitude, with the exception of punishment for a crime. So, chain gangs, work gangs, working in, being forced to work in the laundry of a prison, being forced to work to make clothing for 3 cents an hour or whatever. That was upheld. You could do that. So what they're saying is that the 13th Amendment, while it outlawed outright slavery, it did not stop involuntary servitude. Because it excluded for crime. Where it went further than the Emancipation Proclamation, that was only for southern states that had slavery. It didn't apply to northern states that might have recognized slavery, but didn't allow you to have slaves. You could bring a slave north, and he's still a slave, but you couldn't buy or sell a slave in a free state. So the 13th Amendment kind of fixed that and set boundaries. But the 14th Amendment then was needed to go, okay, you ended slavery, what do we do with these people? People that came over willingly, they could make a declaration that I'm an American now, and blah to England, blah to Italy, blah to Irish, Ireland and France and Spain and Russia. And you give up voluntarily your sovereignty. Slaves were forced over here. They were not given their right. Since in these African countries there were very little nations, written law, it just didn't exist. So you had to create laws now to address this. And that's what the 14th Amendment did. But the 14th Amendment was to say that if you came in here legally and you had children, those children's citizenship could not be questioned. The idea that they came here illegally and never gave up their rights of sovereignty does not automatically extend to the unborn, and thus the children born. It does not apply to them. Now, you could say and make the argument that they were forced here, and thus being forced here, they automatically fall under the 13th Amendment and 14th. No. You could try to make that claim. That claim will not hold up. Because the other side will be the fruits of the poison tree. Even though we're talking civil law here, not criminal law here. Immigration is a civil situation. But that being also is a very gray area when they can, if you can't take the civil side of it and apply it towards the federal side or criminal side or the Constitution side. You can, but it becomes very slippery. And my feeling is that if argued correctly, and this will be argued, I can't see it being argued less than a few times. Or even, in secret, where we hold it, vote, and then we release, the decision is 5-4 against or 5-4 for. I think this will be, again, spoken about, and questions will be asked, and then a decision rendered. But I would say that the decision, I thought they would have had a decision by now. I really did. I thought they'd come out and say, we want this. And my feeling is that if the justices feel they don't get it, do they want that before the 2026, or do they want it before? Where do they want to bring this out? So this will become extremely interesting in how it is then presented. Now, if Trump wins this, which I believe Trump will win this, I said that from the beginning, that this is one of the cases where most people would say, no, he can't win it. He's going to win it. Trump has won some that I said he wasn't going to win, and I still think was bad law. But the firing of directors and chairmen of agencies, independent agencies. I didn't think the president could do that without cause. Now, I thought that he could win the cause fight by saying they're ineffective, by using Doge reports. But those people would then have the right to defend themselves. So, things were done for a reason. It's just interesting on how that reason is being applied. That's all. Like I've said before, I'm not locked in step that everything that Donald Trump does is, gold. And I wasn't locked in step to say that everything that Joe Biden did was absolutely horrible and wrong. I never said that. That was not a comment made by me. And I wouldn't agree with that. I've said before, a good idea is a good idea no matter where it comes from. It's a good idea. I just think that in this case, the way the court is the way the court has made decisions would have me believe that Trump is going to win this one. So, and that's a fundamental change. And I will agree with everyone that says that is a game changer play. Taking back money, taking back, firing this guy and putting this guy in. These guys come and go. Whatever their terms are, they come and go. 14th Amendment, it's a biggie. That's a biggie. Probably one of our most complicated other than the 10th Amendment. Very, very heady. And that's, of course, anything that came out of the Civil War was going to have huge impacts on civil rights, huge impact on voting, huge impact on who could run for election, who couldn't run because they were insurrectionists. Remember, that was part of the 14th Amendment. A lot of language in there. And that was shoved in there because you didn't want the president of the Confederate States, Jefferson Davis, to then be able to run for the president of the United States because, he goes, well, look what you got. Is that what you wanted? Did you want all the Negroes to live next to you? Is that what you wanted? Vote for me, we'll fix that. And that's what they didn't want. So those people were excluded. And most of the soldiers just took a general oath back to the United States. They had to make a re-allegiance into the United States. And they did that, and they lined them all up. All right, take your horse, take your gun, and go home. Go home. But you had to take an allegiance to the United States. Now, if you broke that allegiance, you were shot. There was because remember they had martial law, and if you took up arms against the United States government, you were put in the ground. All right, enough about that Bob in New York, I'm hoping you were watching. I said Saturday I was going to have this up, and I didn't, and I apologize, Bob. I got hit with an infection and stuff, and the fat guy was sick. All right. Ian Roberts. Superintendent of the Des Moines public school system, was arrested by ICE. And people, the Democrats, are in an uproar that this fine, upstanding black gentleman who has a doctorate degree, who's loved by everyone in his community, was arrested by ICE, which says he is in the country illegally from Guyana, was not legally permitted to work in the United States, and had a final order of removal from an immigration judge last May. So let's do some math here. So in May, and I'm saying he did not appear in front of the judge because he would have been removed, so he failed to appear for his hearing. I'm sure of all that. June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. 8 months. And people are, of course, on the internet saying, incredible, an illegal alien with a deportation order managed to become a superintendent of schools for Des Moines, earning more than $300,000 per year. State House candidate Zachary Schinenberger posted, "No one, it's time to abolish ICE in Michigan." Because they're arresting illegal aliens. Now, this suspect was arrested in possession of a loaded weapon in a vehicle that was provided by the public school after fleeing federal law enforcement agents when they went to the school property to find him. So he had a loaded handgun that he was not allowed to have in a school or near a school. Forget about why he had $3,000 cash on him or why he even had a hunting knife. Put that aside. And yet the Democrats are lining up to protect this guy and saying that no one in Iowa is safe from ICE. Well, I wouldn't say that that's a true statement. But if you are an illegal and you're doing something illegally like carrying a gun, yeah, you're not going to be safe. You're not going to be safe. And this should be, I mean, it's not even a wake-up call because the schools are so democratically controlled that you'll never get the right answer out of them. 2 plus 2 does not equal 4 to these people. So you want to get a right answer out of these people. How did this illegal alien was hired without a work authorization, a final order of removal, and prior weapon charges is beyond thought. And they said, well, we did a background check on this guy. Yeah? Did you? Who'd you use? A Ouija board? Because for $12, I could find out information on anyone I want. Down to their social security number, down to their birth records, down to death records. $12. Go on any site, and I'm not recommending a site, but a site like Been Verified and things like that. Which I do recommend for people in the dating range. When you're dating someone and look them up. You get their name on your first date, and first dates are always in a public place for the most part. I'm not going to say every date ends like that, but or starts like that. But you get their name. Hey, where do you live? Blah 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 blah. It's you start changing some what's called pedigreed information. Go and look them up. In today's world, I would recommend that for anyone. The school district said Roberts had previously done an I-9 to prove legal status, but that was conducted by a third-party group, and that it did not know about an order of removal. All right, they didn't know. Did they know about his weapons charges? Okay, Roberts came to the United States with a student visa in 1999 and had charges for weapons possessions in 2020. Isn't that interesting? State Representative Robert Johnson, a Des Moines Democrat, who helped swiftly organize a support rally for Roberts Friday, September 26th, with faith leaders and community members after Roberts' arrest, threw standing ovations as he blamed the Trump administration for this superintendent's arrest and told supporters, "We're not just going to throw Ian Roberts away." Now, this moron, and he's a moron, because in May of 2024, that was Joe Biden's administration who ordered him out of this country, and he could have been arrested then. All right? So, Senator, State Representative Robert Johnson of Des Moines, Iowa, you are a piece of shit. So, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, spokesperson said Roberts, 54, fled law enforcement in a vehicle Friday and was eventually found in possession of a loaded handgun, hunting knife, and large amount of cash. A spokeswoman for the Department of Homeland Security confirmed Roberts' detention and said the court had issued a final order removal for this individual in May 2024. Now, who was president in 2024? Who was director of the Department of Homeland Security? Did they not know where this guy worked or lived, or a car that he owned? How could this possibly be? How could, in May of 2024, they didn't know where this guy was? A dangerous man who had convictions of carrying a weapon, he was on the payroll. They could have found this guy in June and arrested him and deported him. But they didn't. Why? Why wasn't this done in June or July or August or September of 2024? Why? I think we all know why. I think we all know why. Because they were hoping that the Democrats would win. They'd have 4 years of lying to make these people citizens automatically, and that would be it. You couldn't do anything about it. And it would all be forgotten about and pushed under, and that would be the end of that. And we won, and we saved all these 30 million people that came here looking for a better life. Which I would say that probably 90% of the people that had come here were looking for a better life. There was no ifs, ands, buts to me about that. But they didn't come through the legally processing. And those that did, the government gamed the rules to say, oh, did you feel safe in your country? No. Were you happy in your country? No. Well, of course not. Well, what do you think they're at our doorstep for? Was the sky blue? Did you ever see any clouds in your country? The sun ever come up? Oh, yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah. In England, they had the stupid prime minister said they left because of climate control problems. That's why most immigrants went over to the United Kingdom, because they were escaping climate issues, climate control. But only Muslim men. 96% Muslim men, unaccompanied. Somehow the women in those countries were able to weather climate. And you see the bullshit that these people are trying to shove on us. This is why I said this election, 2026, is more important. We won 2020. We won 2024. 2026 is vastly more important to us right now. And I know that I'm kidding around and making some videos and stuff to show, commercials of Democrats and things like that. that are running in 2026. I don't think you'll see the emergence of the real Democrat running for president until really, really late in 2027. Oh, well, when I say really late of 2026. And then, then the primaries and everything start in 2028. But I think that 2027 will be when you'll start seeing the real candidates show up. And it's not going to be Newsom. Not going to be Newsom. He's got too much baggage. Shapiro, there's some questions about Shapiro. It's certainly not going to be Kamala, and definitely not going to be Walz or anyone like that. There are some Democrats out there that can carry the party. But if they do not get off this progressive bandwagon, and I think they'll see that come 2026 when they lose more seats. And they will lose seats. Believe me, they're going to lose seats. And the majority will get even tighter for the Republicans. And the Democrats should be worried that they lose a liberal judge, Supreme Court judge, in the next 3 years. And I keep saying this, that it will be Ted Cruz that will go right into that. And followed years down the road by Marco Rubio. If not Marco Rubio, it will be Pam Bundy or something like that, but they will get it. And we'll have a 7-2 majority. And the only ones that can blame for such an event are the Democrats. Can blame themselves. You embraced a group that should never, ever, ever have been embraced. You can represent them, and I was fine with that. Everyone should be represented, no matter what their spectrum is. But to the point of just going all in on it, very foolish. Very foolish indeed. And telling. And now you had Obama come out and say the problem with the world in general is old men staying on too long. Hey, fuck you, Obama. Because what he's saying is old white men. We know exactly what you're saying, Obama. Take a look at your Democrats when you say that. And yeah, we'll take a look at our Republicans too. But to make a statement like that, you piece of shit, God, I hope your your library gets brought up on all corruption charges, and that will be your freaking legacy. And we'll let the gangs tag everything on your stuff. There's your legacy, piece of crap. Biden won't get into trouble because Biden would be like Reagan. He won't be able to defend himself. It's already been proven that, there's already proof that won't be able to defend himself. So nothing's going to happen to Biden. But those people that were around Biden, who knew and did things and acted in his, this is not going to end well. Not going to end well. And I'm all for that. Well, it's been an hour and 6 minutes. I'm going to say good night. I'm going to try to get this out the door because it is Monday. And it is Socrates Station night. Socrates Station is my favorite place to go to in South Carolina. Great food, great drinks, great people. We don't normally talk politics there, but we do talk a lot of sports. And for people who know me, boy, that is a spot that I don't like going to. But I do it. I got to do some of my homework and say, oh, who is this guy they're talking about? Never even heard of him. But, all right, I'm going to say goodnight. If you can, give it to a charity. Just know the charity. Don't be a victim, helping victim. Give it to a food bank. If you go to a food bank, while you're there, ask them, what else do you need other than food or money or whatever, material things. They are always looking for stuff. Say a prayer. Prayer does work, regardless of what the Democrats want you to think. And with that, I'm just going to say later, and I doubt if I'll do a show tonight. If something really major comes on, I'll do something, a quick 15-minute show tonight. A spontaneous show. But with that, I am going to fade to